All right, greetings, folks. Welcome. This is Body-Culinary, and I'm telling you all some warm, positive vibrations. So it's super hot here. It is the sun is just going down, and it's still like about 100 degrees. So I said, you know what? People always ask me for recipes. Sometimes I hesitate a bit on the recipes because I think they can be so much food porn. As much as I love food, it can be a little distracting. We can get so gourmet that we can take something as simple as whole living unprocessed foods and kind of make them really, really heavy. Sometimes it's so much nuts and so much avocados and so much pies, which is great for transition foods. But actually, in the heat, I prefer lighter foods, also foods with a lot of water content. But I do have compassion because a lot of those treats are a big bridge for folks when they're thinking of transitioning out from a lot of heavy starches and even some of the processed vegan health junk, right? So I said, you know what, in honor of the children, the young people, honor myself, and the heat, I'm in the mood to just share something, a recipe. So I like things to be very, very simple. I always think of activating the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers, and I really feel that healthy food is simple and should be accessible to everyone. It never kind of gelled with me that you have to go into a health grandmas and my grandmother that were all in their 90s were rocking it, right? So this is it's simple. It's simple, delicious, high water content, and hydrated. So here I have some local carrots, and a lot of times if you'll see local carrots, now some people in certain camps may not eat carrots. I do. I do consume with carrots, so you got to do what works for you. I'm not the hair police and I'm not the food police, but I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing. So a lot of times you'll find local carrots are sometimes purple, right? You'll have like purple on them. So again, when you're seeing food grown in this natural habitat or in different environments and different types of soil, you'll see little differences and nuances in the size and the carrot tops and the flavors. So it's one of the reasons why I really am big into, like my grandma Lou said, she eat her own food. So I'm big into eating my own food because there's so much information you get when you're making and preparing your own food. So here we have some local carrots. Because they're local, they're a lot less per pound. These do have purple on them. So I got these for about 75 cents a pound US. And then I got some local papaya. And there are different varieties of papaya. You have strawberry papaya, which has kind of like hints of strawberry and even can be a little bit more reddish. So I have some local papaya, which I got a great price for. So I got this for about 50 cents per pound because it's local. So I do encourage you, even if it's apples and you're in the colder part of the hemisphere, then use apples or whatever produce is available to you. Right, but today I'm going to use fresh papaya, and I do like to use the seeds. The seeds are anti-parasitical, so you don't need a lot, just even like a teaspoon of this to chew it. It has a very peppery taste, but it's also very anti-parasitical. Also, if you're looking to germinate or sprout the papaya seeds, they sprout really well if you take them and throw them outside in the soil or a mound of soil right away. They'll have a much higher germination rate. So this is the papaya. Sometimes papaya can look a little bit worn on the outside and it will still be ripe. When the papaya is not fully ripe, you're not going to taste fully what it should taste like. So I'm going to use papaya. I'm going to use the local carrots, and then also I'm going to need my sister to go through this. A good amount of carrots so I can make a nice portion. Also, I'm going to use some Jamaican lime. So the Jamaican lime, there are several different varieties of local limes. The limes in the States quite often, I found that you don't see them with seeds anymore, right? So the Jamaican lime or the local limes, and there's several. This is also a different variety of a local lime. There are like maybe 4 different varieties here. So these you'll see that they'll usually be a bit more costly when you do find them in fruit stands, fruit and vegetable stand in the States, usually around the Caribbean markets. And these will have lots of seeds. So even if you think you're not going to get a full tree because the temperature and the climate is different in the States, I encourage you to plant a seed from everything that you grow because you're going to learn something. It's going to shorten your learning curve and give you such a greater respect for what you're consuming as energy, right? To make up your brain, your body, your hair, and all that. So I encourage everybody to plant something and to grow something. So that's what I'm going to use. I think maybe I only need maybe 3 Jamaican or 4 little small Jamaican limes or local limes. So that's all the ingredients I'm going to use today. I'm not going to use any artificial sweetener or any of that. right? So I want to make sure my stuff is washed. Now, if you're what was I gonna say? I don't know. Oh, I was gonna say if your carrots are organic, you can scrub them clean. You don't necessarily have to take the peel off because there are a lot of fruits and vegetables where a lot of the nutrition is also inside of the skin. Right. So I cut this piece off earlier. I do recommend that you keep a little garbage bowl, and I love these knives. Right. So I'm gonna take a spoon and I'm gonna scoop out the seeds out of the papaya. Again, you can take the seeds and you can put them outside in the yard or in a mound of dirt or in a pot. And you'll have each one of these seeds will give you a plant. That's one of the things I find so humbling and amazing is each one can give you like a potential tree, right? So sometimes I think being in the city, you can get cut off from that knowledge, right? If you don't have immediate planting space, but I encourage you, even if you have big pots and you have to set up grow lights, everybody can grow something. So I'm simply going to scoop the seeds out because they're very, very peppery. And the skin, some fruits you can eat the skin. There's some instances where if it's organic and it's a good balance of ripeness and the skin is intact, sometimes you can't actually eat the skin of mangoes. There's actually a good friend of mine, very nice man that was in my life at one point. And he is from Africa, and he would quite often eat the skin off of a lot of fruits and vegetables. I'm like, why are you going to eat that? He said, oh, yes, you're going to eat the skin. So I don't eat the skin off of everything. I really investigate all of my fruits and vegetables. Again, because why I like to, like my grandma Ruth, prepare my own food so I can see what the heck is going on. And I love knives. So I have all kinds. Make sure your knives are very, very sharp. So now, sometimes you may find a papaya, there are male and female papaya. There are. And so you get to know that there are different varieties. So look at all those seeds. Sometimes you can cut something open, you'll see it has no seeds. And that's kind of alarming. So I can see this one is ripe, but not as ripe. So usually you'll know it's ripe because when you see it's more white, it's not as ripe. You see that deeper orange and the flesh, that's more ripe. So you're going to get more flavor. Papaya is one of those fruits where if it's not ripe, you don't get like the full experience, right? You don't get the full experience of it. So again, I'm just going to scoop out the seeds. And if you want to, think of how many papaya trees that is with all those seeds, right? You can take some for medicine and chew on just like not even a teaspoonful. And it's anti-parasitical. Right? Bugaboos don't like spicy and bitter things in your system. Right, so I want to scoop all the seeds out of the papaya. And some people consider it a chore. I consider it, for me, it is very relaxing to prepare food. It's for me, it's a sacred space because this is the food I'm going to put into my body for healing, for repair, for cleansing. Right? Fruits are also natural detergents in the body. Right? They're cleansers. Right? They have all of that living water, which is much more of a priority for me than drinking water, even if it's filtered water, out of a plastic bottle that's been sitting on a shelf for years. I'm all about activating the ways of Mother Nature, of the mothers and of the grandmothers, right? That is the principle we have out here. So I just scooped all of those seeds. Each one of these can become a tree or a plant that could give you like 20, 30 fruits, right, from one seed. That's why I'm really, really into planting. Right, and so let's see. Let's cut. So I'm going to quarter this, right? So I can easily take the skin off. And I'm not big on guzzling down a bunch of fruit juice, right? I like the fiber, and for those people that are concerned about their blood sugar, I like the fiber in the fruit. Right? And the papaya also has papain in it, which is a digestive enzyme. And so I don't need to use any stevia, agave nectar. I don't need to use any honey because when your fruit is ripe, oh, that's such a nice breeze, it's in 100-something degrees, is the fruit is sweet enough by itself. I'm just going to take my paring knife and I'm just going to take the peel off. And I'm not going to juice this. I want the whole fruit right there. That's nice and ripe. So again, I'm going to just thinly take off the peel with a nice sharp paring knife. So I like my knife real sharp. A sharp knife makes a big difference in your whole experience inside the food prep area. Again, I'm not going to juice the papaya. So what I'm making today, I call my papaya elixir. But I'm going to take all this fiber, right? And the fiber also gives you a feeling of satiation and a feeling of fullness. So this piece is not as ripe, right? So there are no mistakes in the food prep area. You see? That's a little more starchy. That's not as ripe. So we want it when the flesh is nice and deep, dark orange. That's when the fruit is more ripe. So you want to pay attention to your food so you can see if it's ripe. You'll even start to be able to tell if the food has been tampered with. You'll be able to taste it like if it was grown in really good soil. All of that will show up in the flavor of the food. Sometimes just nice, quiet time spent for yourself. I usually keep a, see this one is much riper. I usually keep a nice big bowl or a container for produce, for compost. So I'll take all the scraps and I'll throw them right outside into a 3-bin system I have. So they have different stages of being broken down. And I'll take all the scraps and I will put them into a compost bin. Periodically, you want to sanitize your cutting board and your blender. Make sure you don't have any kind of cooties on your stuff. Keep everything nice and clean. Right, so many of us are learning more about sanitation. Right? So I'm going to dump all of this into the compost. Right, and because I'm not working with a whole bunch of grease and stuff, most things I can rinse with water. So again, it was so hot here that I was like, you know what? Let me move in the spirit. I'm going to do a little recipe really quick. Then I'm going to have some of these limes. I like a lot of lime because, again, limes are a natural cleanser. 104 degrees, y'all. So yeah, so you cut the limes, you can see the color is different than the lines that you find in the steak. So let's look at the difference between these two limes. So you can see this one has lots of seeds in it, and this one doesn't. So you can see there's so many different varieties of food. Sometimes you may not find all the varieties in your local market. But I will usually frequent different neighborhoods and different cultures, and whatever their favorite foods are. Like if I go to an Indian neighborhood and they're big on coconuts, I know the turnover is going to be higher, and I'm going to see a different quality of the food. So I have the papaya. I have some Jamaican limes. Those are ready to go. I'm going to use my little rima. So a lot of times, even though I have this stuff, I'm always prepared. I have this thing of thinking like my grandmother. I'm always prepared, or my great-grandmothers. I'm prepared to be off the grid, right, with my little tool. So here's my little reamer. Those are very inexpensive, and they do have those at the food co-op. So these are local non-spray carrots. I'm going to give these one more rinse. So now, rather than just doing a whole bunch of carrot juice like we used to do back in the day, I'm going to use the carrots and I'm going to use papaya. And actually, even though there's a lot of times where for years, just like I didn't wear any jewelry for years, I don't necessarily have to have ice in drinks. But sometimes I'll make an exception if I'm preparing food for other people, right? Because I want people to be encouraged to have other foods. And you have that option. Now, sometimes I'll get a headache if the food is too cold, so too hot or too cold food. The body's going to have to regulate the temperature in your mouth before it goes down and it shocks your system. So, but today I am going to use some ice cubes to share this with other people because, again, it's super, super hot. But I have no problem with taking foods in room temperature. And again, these are things your palate and your whole temperament around your food can change, over the years. So now I'm going to juice the carrots, and I can reuse the pulp. I am going to use the pulp in my seeds. So let's get our carrots. I don't think I even need the cutting board anymore. So So I rinse this. I like to clean as I go. And again, I don't need a whole bunch of dish lifting. Clean off my little knife. I like to be really clean. I like to clean as I go. Right? It just makes it a more pleasant time. So I'm going to try it on the juicer. I might have to plug it in because sometimes I'm plugging things to save electricity. If you don't have a juicer, you can get a plant milk bag, which I have made, and it's a very, very sturdy material, so you can actually blend things inside of the Vitamix and pour it through the plant milk bag for really nice, smooth nut milks or juice. If I had a choice between a juicer and something like a really high-speed, sturdy blender, I'd opt for the blender because then you're gonna get more bang out of your buck. Of carrot juice. Right, so now we've got the carrot juice. Clean as we go. Like everything nice and clean. I like clean. So we got like a nice big pitcher of carrot juice. Right, so instead of having the carrot juice straight, what I'm going to do is put it inside of the little carrot specks. And again, I can use the pulp for if I want to do a version of carrot tuna or carrot meat. Right? Because I like to say the meat that I eat is from the plant kingdom and queendom, so cruelty-free meat. So I eat the meat of avocados, the meat of coconuts, the meat of lentils, the meat of carrots. And I can manipulate them in all kinds of ways. And would you believe that you don't really have to buy all of this processed stuff from the store? I remember using veggie mayonnaise and all these different things. But I tell you, once you really get the art of mastering textures and flavors, you can use everything from the plant kingdom, so you can actually make mayonnaise unprocessed in your own food prep area. It makes a big difference. I hear everyone talking about alkaline food, but ideally, alkaline be just unprocessed, right? And you see how the food is being produced in your own food prep area. So I do take in carrot juice. So if you don't, that's totally okay. So I got a nice big pitcher of carrot juice, and what I'm going to do is simply to take the papaya, right, that we have here. I'm gonna take and cut up the papaya, and I'm gonna plop that right inside. So again, we have all of this fiber going in here. I'm not putting any sweetener because the sweetness of ripe fruit is more than sweet enough. That up right in here. Oh, that grease feels so good. That's really enough. And so you'll get full. I find this with drinking straight juices when they're sweeter. It can actually, even though it's all natural, it can have a tendency to spike your appetite. And then many of us, if we're not really getting a lot of physical activity, right, we want to be very mindful of how much sugar we're putting, even if it's natural. Right? Or those folks that are trying to perhaps regulate their blood sugar and their craving, even though it's natural, just be mindful of the sugar if you're not burning what you eat off, right? So make sure eating healthy is not a substitute for physical movement. I have this thing with cleaning as I go. You need both, right? So I'm actually going to grab a quick tray of ice cubes. So hold on un momentito. Un momentito, por favor. So I got a couple of trays of ice cubes. Yeah, so I can make it chill for everybody. So I want to make everything enjoyable, right? So, especially as a mom and when you're really busy, I'm going to be mindful, like sometimes it might feel stressful, like if you have to make several recipes for several different groups of people, one thing for your husband, one thing for your children. So if you have one good recipe, let's say sometimes I don't prefer ice, right? I can put some of mine aside before I add the ice. But again, I don't have to add any sweetener. That saves a truckload of money. And again, I'm not worried about diabetes and stuff because it's all natural. It's high in vitamin A, high in vitamin C, high in bioflavonoids, high in beta carotene. I know exactly what's in my food. I don't have to worry about people putting all kinds of unquestionable stuff that you wouldn't even imagine, into the food. So let's get some ice cubes here. And so the only thing that's missing now is, I see this one. So I'm going to take my little reamer. Where's my reamer? So I'm going to take my reamer and I'm going to use this to, like, my grandmother would just squeeze this with her hand real dry. I'm going to take the reamer and get the lime juice out. Now, believe it or not, I could do a lot with the skins of the lime. I could really make use of every part of the produce. So again, these are the Jamaican limes that are nice and orangey with that orange color. They have slightly different flavor. They have a tremendous amount of seeds in them. A lot of times I'll take the seeds and I'll put the seeds on top of paper towels. This way I can get that juice to go right inside. I'm just taking the reamer and digging it in and putting it right over the strainer so I can get all the juice out. And also when you're working with acids, right, this is a natural kind of acid. This is a good acid. This is an acidic fruit, but it does not make your system acidic. So if it's a fresh, whole living food like citrus fruit, this can actually make your blood alkaline, even though it's an acidic fruit. That makes sense. I have one more lime left, but I think that might be enough. So again, I can do different things with the lime skin to make cleansers. That's how I cleared up my skin. Rather than buying Proactive and even products from the health food store, eventually it occurred to me, I'm spending all this money on fresh fruits and vegetables. I might as well, instead of buying stuff off the shelf, start putting all that stuff on my face. So I even put together a little book called Natural Beauty, No Products. So that's been a journey for me. It's a relief. I'm making sure I get all of that juice out of the lime. It's a relief to me to not have to buy any kind of products, not even from the health food store, because that stuff can also get kind of pricey, right? So now, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these ice cubes. I'm going to put some of the ice cubes right inside the blender. I just stuck it, but I can put a good amount in here. And it pays to just have one good blender. Because something like the Vitamix can also, you can hook this onto it so everything doesn't explode out onto your counter. Make sure that's nice and firmly placed on top. Let's blend it up. Let me get a nice little glass in my system. We have family. We always have a good amount of people to share things with. Oh my God. That is so delicious. So that's the Papaya Elixir, right? This is so good for your skin. The papaya is very good for your digestive system. If you have lots of old food and old meat and waste in your product, in your system, the papaya has papain, which is a digestive enzyme, and which helps to break all of that stuff up. So you can get You're sweet on, but you also got lots of fiber, and it's really, really refreshing. This is delicious. I didn't put any sweetener in it. I didn't put any milk in it. If you want beautiful skin, right? If you see my old pictures, my skin was looking like the sidewalk. This is the kind of stuff you want. Fine, I got some juice for you. You coming for what? All right, come on, because I'm going to drink yours. So this is delicious. So let me know if you have any questions. Wait for my sister to come get her sample. You going to come try this out for the pickles? So this is the carrot, the Jamaican lime, and then also the papaya, right? So it's got that nice fiber in it. You gonna try it? Yeah, you like it? There's yours. Tell me what you think. Are you gonna come try it again? Good? Just slurping it up. All right, folks. So I find it very difficult to eat healthy. When I try, it literally makes me nauseous and sick. Well, that could be for several different reasons, right? So think about it like this. I don't tell grown folks what to do, number one. Does candy make you sick? Does, let's say, fried oil, does that make you sick? If you had to eat maybe like several tablespoons of salt, would that make you sick? So perhaps another way to look at it is sometimes the fresh whole living foods with the water and the fiber that's natural could be mixing with the stuff that's already in your system, right? And you can feel nauseous. Also, there's also food combination. Sometimes we have many of us walk around with a lot of undigested meals inside of our stomach. And when you start putting fresh fruits and vegetables, remember, fruits and vegetables are chemicals, but they're just natural. They're not synthetic. So there's several different ways that you can look at it, right? To be like a detective, right? And use the process of elimination, right? So sometimes if we eat healthy, people can say, well, the healthy food is making me sick, or I find it fascinating. People more are concerned about gaining weight on avocados or gaining weight on fruit. But if we really look at it, fruit is not what makes the average person gain a whole bunch of extra adipose tissue or fatty tissue, right? Fruit doesn't really make us fat. Fruit doesn't really make us gain weight. That's not how we gained the weight or we got unhealthy. It was not from eating fruits and vegetables. So there's several different things that you can look at. The combinations of the food that you're eating, how much space you're putting in between the different meals that you're eating. So if we look at things in a whole context, then most likely there's a reason. There's a reason for everything. You just want to be the detective. So I'm not there with you, right, to look at all of those different things. So I invite you not to be a blind follower of anybody. I don't care how close the healer is or how much you admire them. I think we do our elders and the people in our community that are the baton, that pass the baton for health. We do them a service when we don't follow anybody blindly, and we add our own chapter and we use our common sense. I don't think anyone would expect us not to use our common sense, because even the folks who are the vanguards of health and healing in our community, how did they come to the knowledge that they came to? Either they've apprenticed under several different types of healers. They use process of elimination. A lot of times they've experimented on themselves, right? Sometimes you can be following somebody that just hopped onto something like 2 months ago, right? And then they'll say something didn't work for them and they weren't doing something consistently to get a lot of feedback. Then also we can be at different phases in our life. Somebody could be a mother, a teenager, or older person going through an underlying disease or condition where their body's already compromised that they haven't addressed. So there's a whole picture, a holistic picture we want to look at in terms of what's making us sick. It's could be certain things. You could have allergies. So there's so many different things to look at. It's all in the bad foods. Yeah, we don't want to blame fruits and vegetables, really. Or is the fruits and vegetables making us sick? Or are they interacting with our current biochemistry, the current terrain of our gut, right? Our gut flora, the bacteria in our gut may be way off. It may be coated. Our colon may be coated and plastered with years of paste from so much processed starchy foods and fried foods. So, I invite you to just another perspective. What I say is not the law by any means. I've been in a process of 30 years of trial and error, from meat eater to after high school to vegetarian to vegan, little teeny stint at live foods, then went back to fish and poultry, and then wound up again as a whole living foodist, right? Where I really value whole living, cruelty-free, unprocessed food. So technically it is vegan, but I'd like to focus more on it being cruelty-free first to my own brain and my own body temple, and then expanding that mentality and that outward, right? So we're going to use process of elimination and take time, slow down, really be with yourself. This is not about dieting, and it's not so much about weight loss. Many of us will change our food because of skin. I had a lot of acne and vanity, but I would say more so it's about weight release, right? Releasing weight or different states of mind that we're in when we're eating mindlessly, that causes us to put on weight. A lot of times we're medicating with the food and using the food to process or to quell down emotions. So whole living foods, whole living unprocessed foods, or you do the processing. If there will be any mixing or blending of meal, you do it yourself. You're getting so much more feedback from the food, because if nothing else, most of the body is what? Water, right? So a lot of the things that we're eating could sit on the shelf indefinitely for years. So think about it. You are living, breathing. Your skin is breathing. Your heart is beating. You're a living organism, right? A peaceful being, right? Nobody wants to experience pain, not even other sentient beings. So to me, if I think more so of the mentality and the behavior, and if I allow my values to guide my food choices, and then I add some education and some science, then everything becomes kind of simple. And then if I can enjoy it and it's sustainable, then it becomes like a no-brainer, right? So yeah, I love the lifestyle. So this was the Papaya Elixir, right? And it's so hot. This is really refreshing. And a lot of times, I may even grab a handful of spinach or eat a cucumber with a juice like that. So I'm very mindful of the sugar, that I don't want to be like a sugar addict, even if it's natural, to balance that out and making sure that I get a good amount of physical activity in at the same time. So I'm still using up the fuel and not just burning it off for weight loss, but the movement is also cleansing, right? The lymphatic system, your body doesn't really get cleansed and churning and squeezing out waste if we're sedentary and if we're not moving, right? The body is designed for movement, not even inside machines where we just go up and down. That's not real life. The body's able to move in all different types of planes of motion. So we want the body to be able to do what we needed to do for as long as we needed to do it, right? If you went to a financial planner, they would ask you, what do you need your body to do for you the next 5, 10, 20 years? Or what do you need your money to do for you the next 5, 10, 20 years? So and I invite you to marinate on it. Think about that. What do you need your body and your brain to be able to do for you the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years if you really want vitality? So again, most of the body is water, right? So when you eat foods, I encourage you to eat foods. I don't tell grown folks what to do. I encourage you to eat foods that don't bog and clog your pipes up and make you feel food drunk, like you can't move, and then you lose your motivation to exercise. You lose your motivation to put into activation, dreams and aspirations or creative projects. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I know a lot of people ask me for recipes, and I can go on and on about recipes, but I'm more so about the mentality around what we eat. There's no shortage of recipes, but quite often we can bring the same sometimes gluttonous and junk food mindset and just put the vegan stamp on it. And I think it's more about the food stimulating how we think about energy consumption. If that's the food we're eating, what we're listening to, how we engage intimately, what we allow into our body, it's all, anything that's going through any of the orifices, right, is a type of consumption. Greetings, O'Neill, greetings, Tessa. I hope you enjoyed the Papaya Elixir. Replay it if you're just coming on. Share the video with somebody that you know that could benefit. Replay it so you can enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel. Follow Body-Culinary also, because I post things around beginner gardening for those folks that deal with acne and very, very fine afro texture hair. I think I got papaya in my hair. For those women that are dealing with acne, I wanted to clear up their skin to allow their body to fall to a healthy weight where you don't have to worry about dieting. I take dieting off the table. I take it off the table. I take anyone trying to tell me what is beauty and beauty standards and validate me. I take it off the table with natural hair. It is off of the table. So I removed I still like grooming and all that, but I don't have the distraction of that because I really celebrate what I call radical self-acceptance. So between that, the tiny space workouts. So go through the page. I'm starting to upload more tiny space workouts. There is the workshop that's coming up around, well, it'll be posted, should be posted, a natural healthy eating plant-based for men. That's on the bodyculinary.com website, as well as the preparedness and food preservation webinar. That's also on the bodyculinary.com website. So you can communicate with me over there on bodyculinary.com. Create a great rest of the evening, and I will see you all soon. Enjoy, and let me know how you like the recipe.